What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about ZBCN today. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. Talking about this at the request of Kevin Broughton. Kevin said, thanks again for that fire. You pulling an all-nighter? Can you do ZBCN? And you mentioned a couple other ones. Any would be great. Keep killing it. Thank you, man. You keep killing it too. I hope we're all killing it. I hope we're all doing all right in these I would say trying times, but I think it's only trying times for the people who FOMO'd in at the tops. Or people who might be in their first cycle. You know, I get it. I'm not trying to make fun of anybody if it's your first cycle. Sometimes, and oftentimes, if it's your first cycle, that's the worst one, right? You expect it to be this easy ride, and it is anything but easy in this crypto game, you guys. But ZBCN here sitting at about 0.00137. If we look at it from a low to a high, you've pulled all the way down, tipping the golden ratio right there. And before we even get into these shorter term time frames, which by the way, that's nice. That's a good look. Tipping the golden ratio, getting back above the 382 immediately, holding above the 0.5. We want to see that. Don't get below 0.00128. As long as you're doing that, as long as you're staying above here on a closing basis, I have a strong feeling that you will not go lower than this low. If you do close below the 0.5 at 0.001287, if you do close below that on a daily basis, not get below it and then come back up and close above it, if you close below it, then we can entertain the idea of going lower, but I don't think that you do go lower. That's a very immaculate level of support that you found. You found support not just on the golden ratio, but literally right at prior areas of resistance here. If we look at the weekly time frame, I think this thing is so bullish, you guys. It genuinely, this weekly RSI gets me excited. If it could talk, it is literally in my ear saying, if you like the last one, you ain't seen nothing yet, right? And this one, while it was nice, this last one was nice from a low to a high here, 179%. This weekly RSI is telling me you haven't seen anything yet. You're about to get real bullish. If you can close this week, the following week's green. If this week doesn't, I shouldn't say that. If this week doesn't close green, I wouldn't be concerned with the price. It just would look nice for this week to close green, or any week to close green, because then you will get the RSI pointed back up in the right direction. You'll be looking to get to that overbought area, right? That's what you want to see. So even if this week doesn't close green, it's really not a big deal. But as soon as you do start closing week's green, you're going to point the RSI back toward the overbought zone. And when you tip the overbought zone, find support at prior areas of resistance, or find support above the 50, and then you get back into the overbought zone on any time frame, let alone the weekly, which is pretty damn significant. Likely you're going to see a move that is bigger than the last move, likely. So from a low here to a high, I mean, and this isn't, I say likely, it's not always this way, you guys, but if you're expecting some bullish things, if not just by itself, there's other things to take into consideration besides just this standalone. Oftentimes you do see prices that are bigger than the last move, or growth that is bigger than the last move. So 179% would basically put you at your all-time highs. If it's going to be bigger than the last move, I would think that it's more than just 2% bigger or 5% bigger. It's probably going to be significantly bigger. It might be, you know, who knows? Will it be double? Will it be triple? I don't know. And it probably doesn't end there, right? You're probably going to move up initially, find some resistance, consolidate, probably back at your all-time highs and find support, and then continue to move up going into the end of March, going into April, stuff like that. I would assume from a high to a low, if we're talking about new all-time highs, that it's fair game to talk about prices at 0.0052, prices at 0.009, and even beyond that. If we look at this price now, you've got the expectation to move up at least 270%, if not potentially as high as 560%. And I fully believe that by the end of April, you could be even higher than that. This initial phase, when you break out by the end of March, I mean, probably next week, the week after, going into the end of March, this breakout move, it could take you, I think, to 5.2 cents, if not somewhere between here and your all-time highs, okay? You'll likely consolidate, and then in April, you will continue to press higher. Will you stop at 0.009? Maybe. Will you go higher than that? Maybe. The highest I could probably see you going would be something around, I don't know, man. This thing's got a low market cap. It's got decent volume. That's decent volume right there. 20% essentially of its market cap. That's decent. This, I don't want to say it because it sounds crazy, but I think that you could see something that's on the lines of like a 10x or more. You could see a 12x by the end of April. If not, at a bare minimum, what I would expect by the end of April is probably something closer to a 6.5x. I'm not convinced one way or another. There's not a whole lot of data. I remember the last time I talked about this now. It's like deja vu. I think I said the exact same thing. It wouldn't be fair of me really to guess, and it is just a guess, but it wouldn't be fair of me to guess because we don't have enough data really to confirm this. And I don't know everything about the fundamentals of ZBCN. I know a lot of people encourage me to read about it. I'm encouraged to read about all kinds of white papers all the time, man. And I do a lot of reading about cryptos, but I need to probably understand this one a little bit better. But inevitably, I think that you will see targets that are at 1.3 cents and probably beyond that by the end of the cycle. Inevitably, this thing will grow past any of the targets we talked about so far, but just in the context of what we're expecting by the end of April, I think something around a cent would make a lot of sense, right? That's a nice psychological area of resistance there. And the sooner, if you're up at 1 cent before the end of March, then likely, yeah, by the end of April, you will be up at this 1.4 cent, 1.6 cent area. Hell, maybe even higher than that. Maybe you go all the way up to 2.5 cents. I don't know, 2.55 cents. It's hard to say. I don't have a lot of context from the chart because there's not a lot of historical data. So let's take this high to low again and let's try it from a different approach. Let's just see, what about this high to low? What would help us here? Let's see. High to low there. Okay. A rather quick move up that would lead you up to your all-time highs would be suggested here. Likely you do. I would think that you do stop below the 1272 by the end of this next move up, right? It'll be bigger than the last move, which will likely take you to new all-time highs, but I don't think it'll be so big that it takes you up to this 1272. Maybe it does, but probably not that big, right? That might be reserved for after you consolidate again and then you move up, maybe at the end of March, maybe in the very beginning of April, but probably not at this initial breakout move, unless you just keep moving up and you don't consolidate at all through the month of March. Then maybe, which can happen. Cryptos, you guys can move. I mean, cryptocurrency, if it's your first time being in the markets, it's a wild ride sometimes, man. It just depends on which one. They can literally defy gravity at times if the right narratives or the right people start backing it, the right things come into play. I do think that right now what you're doing is you're finding support at prior areas of resistance here on this long phase of accumulation. Clearly it was accumulation, and likely this will allow you to grow further than what you've done so far. And then with the context of the weekly RSI as well, promoting not just further growth, but stronger growth, faster growth, more growth. I would think that you stop, your next stopping point is somewhere between 0.00317 to 0.0052. And I say 0.0052 because that's the 1272 here, and that is just above the 2272 here. It's fairly common to go just above the 2272 when interacting with it. So this move, when will it happen? I don't know. It could happen this week, within the next 2 days, 22 hours. When I say when will it happen, I don't mean that it will complete itself in the next 2 days, 22 hours. I just mean it might be beginning. Maybe it's beginning now. And I would expect that we see this move come to maturity. We will probably top off in this area sometime by the end of March. And when I say top off, I just mean in the same sense as what we did here. It'll be a momentary phase of topping off. We will move up. We will likely pull back and find support at a common area to find support right at our prior all-time high area. And then going into April, carrying that out, seeing a move up, an endeavor that would probably take you to about 1 cent, if not higher. But I don't think I have anything else that I want to say. I think I've said everything I need to say. Let's look at ZBCN on this chart here. So I got some more indicators pulled up on this one. 4-hour time frame probably isn't going to help us. Let's look at the daily. Oh wow. Oh wow, you've been building some bearish momentum there, but very methodical on your movement down. This seems like a bull flag to me. This really does seem like a bull flag. And if it is a bull flag, then I think we're right to assume that you see a move that is at least similar, but likely it will be larger because of everything else that we've discussed. If it is a bull flag, man, that was a slip right there. If it is a bull flag, you would then anticipate that your immediate move would snap you up to around 0.00288. But again, we're expecting that you continue higher than that. At any rate, higher targets are definitely on the table. It seems like it's looking like it's bullishly postured. Daily stochastics, oversold and outside of the oversold zone. That's good. That's a good look so far. Daily RSI, finding support, higher lows. We like to see that. The MACD doesn't look bad. But you are building momentum to the downside still, so we're looking for just a green day or two to turn that around a little bit. I do want to look at the 4-hour real quick. The MACD becomes less reliable on the 4-hour though. However, you are looking like you want to get above the zero, so that's a good thing. I think that is a good thing. The 4-hour RSI looking like you broke out of your downtrend. Yes, you've got lower lows relatively speaking with higher lows relatively speaking. Good. Or are they higher lows, actually? Yeah, they're higher lows, good. And the stochastic is just weird. The stochastic and the MACD don't really work on the shorter term time frames. That's why I don't normally use them. 3-day time frame, could find support at the 50, good. I like the 3-day RSI. 3-day MACD is fine. Actually, it's very common whenever you see these, you see how it gets a solid bar, you build down, you get some more bars, even if it's at a lower high and you get this bearish divergence, whatever, it's very common to at least see more drives building. So I would anticipate soon we are going to see some divergence between the blue line and the orange oscillator here, and that'll build bullish momentum over the coming 3-day periods. I would expect, actually, because not only did you start here, not only is that your high in the bullish momentum on the histogram here, but because you crossed above the zero with your oscillators, you're probably not done. I would expect that this histogram continues to grow, which lines up very well with the idea of the weekly RSI seeing a stronger move too. If you're going to see a higher reading in your histogram, you're going to build bullish momentum on that, and in that kind of basis, that definitely sets the grounds for seeing a more bullish endeavor on this coming move. And in the weekly time frame, we don't have a lot of history. RSI is probably the best one to go off of, so none of these help. To be fair, also though, the MACD is looking like it wants to cross above the zero line on the weekly as well, so that's good. If you're confused as what I mean the oscillators looking like they want to cross above the zero. A lot of people, I don't know when it became a trend, but a lot of people don't use the oscillators on the MACD. It doesn't make sense to me. The oscillators, it's like half the puzzle right there. You need the histogram's a big deal, don't get me wrong, but the oscillators are a big deal too. You need the oscillators, man. It tells you a story in that sense too. That's where you can spot other forms of divergence too. I don't know what else to say, guys, so I'm going to end the video there. Hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more. My guess would be that by the end of this move overall, by the end of April, you're going to be at anything from like a 6.5x to potentially, what was that, an 18x? Was that what it was? High to low? Come on, let's see. I think it was an 18x, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't think you go to an 18x by the end of this move in April, but it's possible. I accept it as a possibility. 2272. Yeah. As an 18x, and likely you would actually go a little bit above that, maybe to 3 cents itself. See a 21x from here. I'm not saying I expect that to happen. I just accept it as a possibility. We don't know. We don't know how this thing's going to perform. So I think the best way, really, and I want to be clear here, actually, but while I still have you, if you haven't left, my predictions as far as where the price will be by the end of April are not something you should count on, because we don't know how this thing performs yet. By the end of March, I have a feeling we will at least get more of a taste. So by the end of March, we will likely have a better understanding. And by the end of March, I expect it's going to be dramatically higher than you are now, right? At least like 200% higher, something like that. But we will have more of a taste, a better understanding of where you likely will be by the end of April. So it might be the most appropriate to really hold off on these end of April calls until we see how robust this next phase is. So I'll try to remember that for next time, but I can't promise that. So anyways, hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy. Bye.